All right, back to story time. It's been a while, a lot of food eating videos and whatnot. So let's just get back into it. Next story, adobo. So when I was working at this restaurant, like I said, the these stories are connected, this one and this one. The sous chef was doing a lot of work, and I was trying to see if I could take some of the workload off of him. So I said, every Thursday, I'll make family meal for everyone. That's when you cook for everyone. And anyways, I decided I'm always gonna make fried chicken because that was my favorite thing to eat because I like fried chicken. So every Thursday, no matter what, I made family meal for the whole staff. And I thought I'm gonna make a different flavor every week. So it's like garlic chicken, whatever chicken, whatever chicken, whatever. It was always a different flavor of chicken or sauce. And I think it was like the 8th week or something that I didn't know what flavor to make. So I asked the person who was working next to me, what do you feel like eating? And then I didn't tell her I was gonna make fried chicken no matter what. I asked her, what do you feel like eating? And she said, we haven't had adobo in a while. So I thought, okay, I gotta figure out how to make adobo fried chicken now. And usually the chef, the one, well, there's a separate story, or is it potato? A separate story for later. But one of the chefs, he always talk crap about the food that I made and the stuff that I like to eat, because he's fancy and from a 3-star Michelin restaurant, and he's too good for a lot of he's too good for McDonald's, he's too good for packaged candy, all that stuff. He's very fancy. We'll just leave it there. So he didn't like a lot of types of food that all of the fried chicken that I made because it was very pedestrian, I guess. Anyways, so I had to make so adobo is like this sour soy sauce, sugar, garlic. It's basically soup. It's like vinegar soup with either pork or chicken in it, and it's really sour. So obviously I wasn't gonna take fried chicken and dump it into liquid because it's not thickened in any way. So I had to figure out how to make it thick. So first thing is I made normal adobo. I just asked everyone in the kitchen, like, what do you put in it? What do you put in it? And then it's just, different people said different things, but I just took what parts I felt was like, I'd rather listen to this opinion than this opinion because I think it needs this or it doesn't need this. Because like sugar is one of the big things that some people put and some people don't. So I just made normal adobo in like a pot like this big, and then I reduced it all the way down until it was like a thick syrup. So it's really, really intense. Garlic, vinegar, soy sauce, sugar, bay leaves, a lot of peppercorns. Like it went from here to here. So it was like really, really thick and strong. It was black in color because it was so intense. And when you tasted it, it tasted intense too. So that was basically essence of adobo because it was so reduced. And then I thought like, I'm gonna make beurre monte, which is just basically emulsified butter water. And then I made it, and then I added the base into there. I strained it out and I added it into there, and I tasted it, and it was like, it's basically yeah, it's like a butter sauce made with adobo. Well, it is adobo butter sauce. That's what we call it. So, yeah, I made that for the first time, and then when I put it up for a family meal, a disproportionate amount of people like outwardly said like, this is really good. And then even the chef that he's too good for a lot of things, he said that you actually made something that's good. So yeah, a lot of people liked it. So from that point on, every week until I quit, I only made that chicken, but every week I tried to improve it in some way over the last week. So in the beginning, like I strained out all the stuff. Later on, I started, I'd pick out like the garlic and I'll blend it in. And then eventually it got to a point, I just blended the whole thing in there. I blended the bay leaves and the peppercorns and all that stuff in there, and I like played with the ratios of everything. And yeah, that's how our signature dish was born. It's the only dish that's been on the menu since we first opened at EXO 4 years ago. And that's the birth story of that dish. What time is it? 5:30. Okay, we'll go straight into the potatoes since that's what I referred to earlier. So there's this dish that the fancy chef wanted to put on the menu in the beginning. It was potato au gratin. So at first it wasn't on my station. I moved stations later on, and then I had to start making it. So they made it, whatever. Then I moved to that station. Then it became my job to make it, and then he showed me how to make it, which is like you do this, you put the cream, you reduce it, you don't let it break, and then you add the potatoes and you cook it. You do the whole thing, and then you put it into this half hotel pan that's lined with foil and parchment. And then you have to be gentle and put it in nicely and all this stuff, and then bake it, chill it, and then the next day you would cut it. So I watched him do it, and then we portioned it the next day, and I was looking at the finished prep. Like the gratin was like this tall, and there was air bubbles all over the place. So that's how he showed me how to do it, so that's how I did it. But then like a week, in that week, I was thinking like, we could make it nicer than this. It would look nicer because if it was taller, because if it's like this, it looks so skimpy and wimpy. So I was thinking like, what if we make it a little bit taller, just so it actually looks like a rectangle instead of like a skinny little thing. And then also I was trying to figure out how to get rid of the air bubbles, because like it looks nicer if it looks seamless and then perfect, because it's like it's tight. So I was thinking about how to do it, and his method was you have to put the potatoes in, like you have to kind of roughly shingle it nicely and press it down constantly and all this stuff, and then bake it. And then every 20 minutes for 1 hour baking, you have to pull it out and press it down. And then when I thought about it, I was like, why are we pressing it down every 20 minutes? The potatoes are still raw until the point they're finished cooking, at which point they're actually malleable instead of being floppy. And like if you press it down like this, it'll just rubber band back up because it's not cooked yet. You can't make mashed potatoes with raw potatoes. So I was thinking like, taking it out, all it's doing is cooling the potato, because you're taking the lid off and then you're like wasting time basically. Well, like what's the point of pressing it? There has to be a purpose for doing things. So I did the whole thing my way, which was I didn't put more potatoes. I think I don't remember. Maybe I did put more potatoes. But anyways, so I did the whole process, but the first step, I cooked it a little bit drier, because I was thinking, what's making this potato so a lot of holes, kind of floppy and wet and sloppy and ugly. So I was thinking, well, we got to make it more dry. So reduce it more up front, cook the potatoes longer in the rondo on top so more of the moisture can release. Because once it's in the pan and it's foiled and it's like dense potatoes, steam isn't coming out. So we have to remove more moisture while it's in the rondo on the stovetop to get less moisture in the potatoes when you press it. So that's two things. Reduce the cream more and cook the potatoes longer to let the steam come out. And then we did the process. I found we didn't need to make it as nice. Like he wanted us to like scoop a little at a time and like press it down and all that stuff. My thinking was, that's a waste of time. Just dump all the potatoes in there. Just make sure there's none that are like standing up this way. They're all like generally in this direction. And it's okay if there's air bubbles. And I'll tell you why later. So you just dump all the potatoes in there and roughly put it in tightly, but don't waste too much time. And then from that point, put it in the oven. Don't take it out, don't press it. Just let it cook. Let it cook all the way. And then when it came out, I took the cover off. I took another hotel pan that fits flush into it, and then I pressed down on it. And then by pressing down on it, it compresses all the potatoes downwards and it pushes all the air out. So that's another step that I did. And then you could, when you press down, you could feel the air coming out and the cream filling in all the holes. And then I put it in the fridge, but before I put it in the fridge, I put a weight inside of the top pan so it would stay compressed. Then when it goes in the fridge, in a compressed form, so everything is taut and tight, when it chills and turns hard, it turns hard in a compressed form. So I did that, and then the next day I took it out and I was cutting it, and then he came by and then he was like, what the fuck is this? Why doesn't it look like mine? And then I was like, I was thinking of ways to make it better or something like that. And he was like, he just started like kind of yelling a little. And then he finished yelling. This isn't the same chef that yells a lot in all the other stories, but he yells a little and then he walks away. And then the sous chef comes behind me and is like, nice potato, Kenny. And there's a general consensus that my way was better than his because it looked really nice. And then, yeah, I think he knew mine was nicer, but he didn't want to like say good job for not listening to me or anything like that. He was just like salty, and then he just never brought it up again, and he just let me do it my way forever. And when I went off to Maui, somebody else had to start making it. And then when I trained, like, I didn't tell them directly how to make it. I told the chefs or the sous chefs, I told somebody else, and then they taught them. But I guess it was lost in translation on how to make it, because whenever they made it, it came out like sloppy and messy and ugly again. So it went from ugly to nice back to ugly. And then while I was in Maui, I would get like text messages saying like, how'd you make the thing? And then I'd just like text them like instructions. This is how I did it. And then they would do it and it wouldn't work. And yeah, then the other chef, because his new standard for nice potatoes came from me, when they went back to being ugly, he started yelling at everyone that the potatoes were coming out ugly, which is how they came out before I changed it. And yeah, it was consistently ugly, so they just took it off the menu. That's that story. So it was ugly, I changed it, it was nice, and then I left and they tried to make it again. It came out ugly and they couldn't figure out how to make it nice, so they got rid of it, even though ugly was the status quo in the beginning. So that's the potato story.